So there's a lot of pressure when it comes to agency side. And the other thing is you're always required to do meetings. You're always required to do calls, reports. You have deadlines to hit and things like that. So there's so many different things that you have to think about when you're working agency side that influence what you do inside the account.
Yeah,
Park the car
yeah.
and have it, yeah.
Get in the car. Or get in the
Yeah.
cab. Yeah, I don't know. I have
Have you ever
bad
have you ever been?
Boston accent. No, I've not. But I used to live
Oh
in New
man.
York.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to
I
live in
think
New
I remember you
York.
telling me.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, anyway, guys,
Yeah, we should
we have
we
a
should get
lot
on with
of
this.
intro options now. So, well, it's nice to see everybody again, or not see, but it's nice to be able to speak to our listeners. We are actually debuting a new series today on the PPC Cave with my co-host Ryan Fenton, and we will be opening up the new series, which Google Ads campaigns should I run? And this particular episode, we're laying the groundwork and we're going to discuss Google Ads for agency versus business owner slash in-house. And a little bit more about how we're going to do this particular series. When you really read that question, which Google Ads campaigns should I run? That's a super loaded, lot to unpack question, but we can get it out of the way right now. The answer is it depends, right, Ryan?
Absolutely. I was just completely blanked out right then and wanted to just say, based on an earlier conversation that we were having, Glenn Ross is what I was thinking of, by the way. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Okay.
Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross. Okay, I'll
You've
we'll
heard that
make
film, right?
never.
Okay. Anyway, getting back to the main thing. Absolutely. So I think this season is all about, which campaign should you run? And we're going to go through it all in terms of what campaign types, what is the best fit for you and your business, for your clients, whether you're in-house, agency side, freelancer, whatever it is, we're going to go and run through all of the different campaign types, why you should run them, what best fit they are for what kind of business, niche, budget, things like that. We're going to kind of take everything into account and then give you the best solution, really, I guess, in what campaign type you should run for get any given situation.
Absolutely. And, Ryan touched up on this just a little bit, where in the other episodes that we will be releasing, we're going to go over particular campaign types from, search, shopping, manual, PMAX, display, all YouTube, all of it. And also, like you said, I think the perspectives of, are you running this campaign for your own business or in-house or a client or agency is super important for us to even answer which Google Ads campaign should I run? Because as Ryan and me already mentioned, it really depends. And this is more groundwork also, foundationally, where we kind of provide the process of how to think about Google Ads optimization and management. It's not A, B, C, or D answer. Our job is to test and use data and insights. And that isn't linear. That isn't one correct answer. That isn't one way. That isn't one campaign. That isn't one anything. So I think we'll really be able to go through those nuances and details from our own experiences to really give you the full picture of how to think when we ask in this new series, which Google Ads campaigns should I run? And we'll also talk about, this has kind of been on my Twitter or my X feed lately, the future of Google Ads, aka PMAX or automated campaigns, and or versus the manual aspect of having control with manual CPCs and biddings and shopping. Ryan, I know you're dying to say something about that point. Go ahead.
I'm not saying anything, my friend. I'm going to stay quiet. I'm going to keep my opinions to myself. They got to tune in for that episode.
Yes, that's one of our. I think we'll do that a little bit later on. So y'all will really have to make sure that y'all keep up and listen because it's going to be good. And that's what we want here at the PPC Cave. Even though it is a cave, it's not an echo chamber. Those are two different things. Me and Ryan have two different experiences. So you're going to get almost every single way to run a Google Ads here on this campaign because I primarily in e-commerce. Ryan does both e-commerce and lead gen. I am in America. Ryan is in the UK, so there's differences there. He's experienced primarily client side. I am in house, so we're really going to tackle a lot of these different things, and there might be a lot of points that we disagree upon, but I think that's what makes this particular podcast different is we are going to challenge each other and be like, okay, well, this way, what about that way, and learn more because if we don't, then we'll never grow and we'll stay the same and we'll do things the same and get the same results. But yeah, so Ryan, you can go ahead and kick it off with your points about lead gen, agency, and clients.
Yeah, cool. So I think if you're looking and struggling to figure out, what campaign type should I run, I think you first have to kind of ask yourself, okay, am I in-house for an agency? Or, am I a freelancer and I've got my own sort of like portfolio of clients? For this one, I'm really talking more about agency side, and I think we've agreed on that anyway, Gene. About in a later episode, we'll kind of talk more specifically to the freelancer market
Yeah.
about what you should do for your own clients and things like that, because you have a lot more leeway, a lot more freedom. Whereas obviously when it's agency side, whether you're in house, there's always someone kind of above you, especially in our roles, whether it's a marketing director, whether it's a head of marketing, whether it's a CEO, whatever it might be, you've always got someone, or even the client themselves, right? There's always someone you kind of have to answer to a degree. So that's why I think you've kind of got a little bit of a restriction in what you can do. And you have to kind of speak to someone, whether it's the client, whether it's your line manager or whoever it might be, to really lead the way in terms of where you want to take the direction of the business and how you can reflect that within the Google Ads account. But getting into it, I think. Oh, did you have something to say on that point?
No, go ahead.
Okay, it sounded like you were ready to say like a really good point.
No, you're good.
Cool. I think with agency side, you have to be very organized. You have to be very structured because you could be thrown into a position where, and I was, you have 8, 9, 10 different clients to manage. And if you've not had that level of work volume before, it can be very daunting. It can be quite overwhelming. So my tip for this really doesn't really come down to a campaign type. Excuse me. It's more about actually using the tools that are available to you. Things such as Trello, things such as, I think Monday.com is a really good one as well. Notion is really great. Google Calendar, is a really good one. Just to kind of say, right, what am I working on at what time of day and how long for, pretty much. And that is something that can really help you. If you get 8, 10 different websites, clients that you have to manage, 10 different accounts that you have to manage, then that's a really good way of distributing your time to say, right, okay, Monday morning, first thing I'm going to come in, I'm going to do like a quick overview of everything. Tuesday is going to be this client, Wednesday is going to be that client, whatever it might be. At least then you know how your week is looking. So I think that's something that you should really consider, to be honest. Another thing is obviously you have to kind of, in some agencies, you have to track your time. So you have to kind of write down, okay, I've spent this amount of time on this client, this amount of time on that client, things like that. So being time orientated is key as well. But that's kind of a byproduct of what we're talking about here. It's important to note because if you are on that agency side and you're not doing those things, it can kind of get away from you. So I think being structured and organized is key. Bringing it back to the whole campaign side of things, it really depends. You've kind of got to look at what is the industry that the client is in, what niche are they in, what budgets do they have, where are they in the world? Are they in the UK? Are they in the US? Are they local? Do they serve a 5 to 25-mile radius? All of these things really depend on which campaigns you're going to run. Because you're not going to run a UK nationwide campaign for a car mechanic who only services like, 10 miles, 20 miles radius around his business location. That's a waste of budget. So it's really important that you want to identify where are they, what are the budgets that they have to work with, what industry are they in, because all of these are like varying factors in terms of which campaigns you can run. But the beauty of that is when you do go agency side, you build up a wealth of experience. And if you've got clients in many different niches, many different like industries, and even if it's in lead generation, software as a service, so SaaS, e-commerce, then it's more strings to your bow because you're getting more knowledge, you're getting more experience that down the line when the agency that you work for signs more clients within that same niche, you're going to be better prepared to know, okay, this is the campaign type I should run. I've seen this type of budget before. I've seen this type of location before. I've seen this type of business before. This is what worked last time. This is what didn't work based on my own experience. I can put that into the new client that comes on board. So I think that's something to really pick up on. But kind of looking at a bit more of a restriction type of thing, you are very client led. You have to listen to what the client wants at the end of the day. Whereas, perhaps if you're freelancer side, you have a bit more of a consultation kind of aspect where you can kind of come on as a bit more of like a consultant and say, right, I think we should be doing this. Have you considered that? What about your margins? Can we look at increasing the price of the products? Can we include this service? Can we offer promotion? All of these things you can kind of suggest to the client when you're more of a freelancer. I think when you're more agency side, because you're quite low down as like a junior account manager, whatever you, even if you're a senior, it's usually up to the sales guy, if there's a sales team there, to kind of take that lead and say, right, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Whereas usually agency side, you're just strictly managing the account, managing the budgets, managing the campaign, and that's that. So you have to kind of listen to what the client wants. What the client wants might not always be the best thing. They might say, well, we want a 10-to-1 return on ad spend. Okay, well, you're selling soap and it's like £5, $5. And at the moment, we're spending $100 to generate one conversion. There's no way in hell you're going to get a 10-to-1 return on ad spend. Well, okay, we want to be number one spot. Okay, we can get you number one spot. It's going to cost you. But again, if your product or your service is not really valuable, if it's not giving you a solid return, then it's going to be very expensive to get number one spot. But you can push back to a degree, but there's always that thing of client comes first, client knows best to a degree, and what they want, you kind of have to reflect that in the campaign. Otherwise, you run the risk of losing the client, and it's not, it's a bigger deal agency side because you're costing the business that you work for money because you're losing their client, right? So it's not your client, it's the agency's client. So that's why you have to play ball a little bit more. And that's why the client always gets the final sign off. So, ad copy, campaign types, keywords and things like that. They have to make sure that they're happy with what you're doing. Otherwise, it could kind of turn around and come back to haunt you, really. So you have to be like that. And as Gene is going to probably get onto soon as well, talking more about the in-house side of things. And, if you're a business owner listening to this, it's more long-term view of what you want to see happen in the account 6, 9, 12 months from now. Whereas I think agency side is fast. It has to be like 3 months, has to be 6 months. You have to almost get results instantly to win that confidence, win that trust from the client. Otherwise, they're going to say, well, we spent $2,000, $2,500, or whatever it might be on your services, and we're not seeing the return. And I've been in situations where I've seen that agency side where agencies have charged $2,000 like dollars or pounds a month, $2,500 pounds a month. And, they don't get the results. And then the client gets really, really frustrated and they can't do anything because they're in a contract, and the contracts are usually very difficult to get out of. And they just have to kind of sit and really trust the account manager to do the work. So there's a lot of pressure when it comes to agency side. And the other thing is you're always required to do meetings. You're always required to do calls, reports. You have deadlines to hit and things like that. So there's so many different things that you have to think about when you're working agency side that influence what you do inside the account, that actually influence what campaigns you want to run. In my world, like we were just talking about, Gene, about manual kind of shot, like search campaigns and standard shopping campaigns and things like that. If it's agency side, I'd be looking for more automation. I'd be looking for maybe performance max. I'd be looking for more like maximize conversions, because I feel like we can't just, kind of sit back and wait for data to enter the account. We almost have to get leads and calls and sales from day one, right? Just to win that client over, win that trust over. Unfortunately, Google doesn't work like that. It's not a get rich quick scheme. And I always say that to my clients. It takes time. And Rome wasn't built in a day. And you ideally, Google themselves say you need 90 days worth of data before a campaign is fully dialed in and performing at peak, right? So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. But when you're agency side, you really need to pull as many strings as possible to get the results in as quick as possible. And I think in many cases it's short term, like win. It's like it's short. It's not really a long term thing for agency side. I think it's just getting that results quick and fast, and getting it as soon as possible. Whereas I think when you're in house or a business owner, you focus more on the long term. Okay, we understand we have to put the money down now, but then a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, we're happy to see that back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, with what Ryan just explained, that's like a wealth of knowledge. You could tell that this guy has been agency side for a good amount of time, and he is now independently employed by himself. So let's congratulate him, if
Thank
anyone
you.
is listening to this currently, or when this comes out. I think what he said is really valuable. If you want to understand which Google Ads campaigns you should run, and you have all these parameters because you're working agency side, you have to abide by those parameters or requests of the client. Or I'm not agency side, but I have clients now too, and I see similarities in that regard. You have to really make sure you provide insight and say, XYZ client, this is why I think we should do this. I know you want that, but this is why I think we should do this. What do you think about that? And if they insist, like, no, give me number one, or give me this, give me that, well, then you have to do what they ask, obviously. But if you could somehow interject that and provide insight, usually the numbers and the statistics don't lie. So it's better for them to listen, or if you could kind of convey that, it'll save them money. But like Ryan said, I think it's really a mad dash in the beginning. Even like for us, like even though we tell clients 3 months, or you're in agency, you have to get these particular, results quickly. And you might have to, resort to Performance Max as the campaign type that you should run. I'm doing air quotes, by the way, that you should run if you're agency side or you're managing clients. Because, a lot of the times they'll say, yeah, nod their head, 3 months is fine, this and that. But there's still nothing that could substitute when you see your bank account as a business owner, or you're going to an agency as a client and it's not getting you any return. You still, look at that and you're like, oh, well, what's going on here? So if you're at an agency or you're working in, individually for or independently for clients, that is kind of something that you have to mention up front, that it could take 3 months. But going with an automated campaign type like Performance Max, or even anything that's like max clicks or something like that for search, I think that's gonna be a better campaign type. Like we said earlier in this episode, it really depends. So it's a case by case thing, right, Ryan?
Do you think that does it justice, though? I mean, if you were to go in and let's just imagine you're a new agency guy or whatever it might be,
Okay,
and they
let's
get a
do
new
it.
client on the books, right?
Mhm.
And they say, Gene, we got this client for you, and um, he's in the e-commerce space. Let's say, why are you smiling? What's
Okay, we're doing role play. Go
we're
ahead.
doing role play? This is great. We've not done this yet. This is great.
Yeah.
So yeah, hi Gene, how you doing?
Good.
We got a
How are
client for
you?
you.
Oh, thank
Great.
you.
I'm the sales guy. No. So anyway, we got this client for you, right? It's e-commerce based, and
Okay.
you know The client wants results quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
What campaign type are you going to run?
So there, before I get into what campaign type, we're role playing, by the way. Before I get into the campaign type, I do want to preface that with each campaign will be defined differently in regards to success. There are some campaigns that will take a little bit longer time, but you know your budget is not being spent frivolously. And there's another way, another route if you're looking for something a little bit faster, even though we do recommend 3 months is the absolute minimum. And this is not my words, but Google's words to run a campaign so that you could kind of see more of the insights and data. You could go Performance Max, which is a little bit more automated. It'll be, going all of the platforms on Google. So you get a really big picture of where conversions, or in this case, click-through rate, traffic, where you're getting the most bang for your buck there. But it will spend your budget really quick. So it's really up to you. Do you want to go nice and slow and increase, and scale your budget, not in a frivolous manner? Or do you want to be a little bit more aggressive and say, let's hit the ground running, let's see the data as fast as we can, and then pivot and optimize through that? So that's kind of how I would approach that.
But you see, I always think, is this going to be a detriment to the overall success? Because if you go in and you say, let's start with like Performance Max, or let's start with the search campaign and maximize conversions, which is fine. I guess it's okay to do. But if the account hasn't already got any conversion data, then I guess it can be a little bit more of an uphill battle. But the problem I'm thinking is that if you just go in and rush a campaign, get it set up and running because the client is breathing down your neck and they want results instantly, is it going to be a bit of a detriment to the overall success of, that client, what they can get and things like that?
Yeah, and the overall theme of this episode, I feel like, is it depends, right? You could use Performance Max at $5 a day. Look at all the products that particular PMax campaign is funneling towards, and then start to screen it. If you start off with 50 Performance Max products, and then you see only 5 or 6 are getting a high CTR, or maybe even a conversion here and there, then you create that particular product and see if there's any pattern with those 5 products that are winners, and put it in a manual shopping campaign or a search campaign, that has a particular landing page to those particular products. So it really, depends. But what I guess the theme of this particular, question or scenario, I guess, is what the client says, sometimes has to be what we do, but the majority of the time, I love y'all clients, I love everyone that wants to listen to us or maybe even work with us. So no hate on y'all, but sometimes that's why we're there. That's why we're there, because we can kind of guide you and be like, okay, well, I know you want that. Maybe you want to run Performance Max, but like Ryan said, you have absolutely no signals in your account. This is a baby account. It doesn't even know what keywords you want, how much more conversions. So how are we going to, run before we walk? We should definitely run search, or something more manual with shopping. And once you get the conversions, that's how it works. Turn that search campaign into an automated bidding campaign. Once you start seeing, things from the manual perspective, start to give you conversions, attractions, and the same with shopping. Maybe down the road it could turn into Performance Max. But like we mentioned, it's really a case of what type of client you're gonna get, at an agency or even as a freelancer independently. So.
Exactly. And you can't always, if your agency side, preface what clients you get through, because that's up to the agency, that's up to the sales team, whoever they bring in front of you. So you kind of hands are tied, really, to be fair, at that point. That's kind of it for agency side. That's kind of it for, I guess, kind of lead gen, although it kind of blended into e-commerce towards the end. Gene, do you want to talk a little bit about in-house and if you're a business owner?
Yeah. So a little background about me, I've been in-house for one company since 2017, and it's been really good. It's literally one Shopify website. I'm not going to get into what it is, but I think that's a big difference is you have one website that you have to worry about, and as for business owner, you have one website that you have to worry about. It's the same thing. And you know all about the products, all about the services, and you could really bring in these unique selling points that maybe someone at an agency or client side can absorb, but not as granular as you can, because this is your 9 to 5, or this is your business. So you understand the service, the product like the back of your hand. And I think product knowledge especially is really important when I'm creating a headline or any search campaigns. I'm really trying to tease out demand by really providing these unique selling points that maybe is going to resonate to some people. If you have some type of green initiative, or if you have something where you're matching our particular, I guess, revenue because you're helping a local organization. All these things as a business owner or as a, in-house person needs to be on a search campaign. In my opinion, search campaign is one of the best ways to have a long form text content on Google Ads. So if you have a particular, maybe for every transaction you plant a tree, if you have something like that, make sure that's in maybe 2 or 3 headlines for a particular search ad, or search ad group. But it also obviously depends on if you're working in-house and you have a particular general manager or manager that you're reporting to. That's kind of like the equivalent of a client if you're, I guess, freelancing or at an agency. You kind of have to still have that communication. But I think overall, your focus is one website. And, you could really make sure that you hone in and look at even the historical statistics. A lot of the times when you're agency side, or even me as a freelancer, I can't, there are clients that don't want me to see, analytics, for some reason, even though I really beg them to, because data and Google Ads go hand in hand. You don't see that. But if you're in-house, you see full transparency. You see how much sales, they did in this year, last year, 5, 15 years, whenever their inception was. You could see how they're doing on email marketing, social media, on blogs, how they're doing on other PPC platforms. So there's a lot more data, I feel like, other than just Google Ads or the website or Shopify, that you could kind of pull from and be like, oh, well, I saw that their email marketing is this, and maybe I look at the subject and headline, this is really a sticking point. Maybe I can convert a search ad that can kind of have the same thing as the email marketing headline, and you could test that. You could really, really get deep into it, is kind of what I'm saying. And with in-house, or if you're creating if you're a business owner and you're creating Google Ads and you're running a campaign, you have the opportunity to expand your digital marketing stack. I can use Google Ads basically any which way I want. If for some reason I'm like, okay, well, I'm running Google Ads right now, but I see that my email marketing is terrible and my product doesn't lend to that, to a click and then a purchase. It's a long cycle of emails and education. Well, maybe I need to slow down on the Google Ads and switch over to email marketing. So we're kind of getting off topic, but I'm just trying to give the difference, of like in-house, because I've done this with my particular job, and it's something that I'm like, okay, well, I really want to do Google Ads right now, but this other thing in the digital marketing stack is, I see the potential and opportunity right here. Let's pivot a little bit, and also, as Ryan mentioned earlier, it's really about the long term. I'm not under the gun or any pressure to first month I need XYZ conversions. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking just for insights. I'm looking for I'm really studying even my products or my services. I'm looking at my Shopify, looking at my website. If someone is going to go to this product page, is this a convincing product page? Do I answer everything proactively that someone is going to object to if they click on a Google ad and go directly to this product page? Does it have all the information that they need? In e-commerce, we talk about this all the time. You need to make sure that you're over communicating your reputation, credibility, your price competitiveness, and also your speed of service or delivery. All that needs to be on the product page. So there's a huge difference, right? When we're really looking and seeing short term versus long term, reporting to many people in agency, reporting to like one people, you can kind of like do your own thing. And I think the biggest, if we're to ask me, the biggest thing is, if I'm asking which campaign should I start, or, which campaign should I actually run? If you're in house or you're a business owner, and if I was to do it again, I would definitely run very manual search campaigns. Maybe not even max clicks. Maybe just manual CPC. Like really get granular and start baseline, because there's no rush, man. This one's a marathon. This is not a sprint. So the more that you can, and also if you're in house and you start going automated, even max clicks, and then your boss sees this crazy spend, but nothing attached to it. That kind of, you might see a little bit more hovering, like, oh, checking in a little bit. Are you okay, Gene? Or why is this spend up here? There's no conversion. So I prescribe start slow, just one campaign, manual start. If it's search, if it's shopping, really, really start slow. And anecdotally, for me, I've been working for this company since 2017, and we started very, very slow. I mean, we had sales. It was probably close to like 60 to 80, a year at that point in time in 2017, and then now, or last year we did 1.5 mil, and this year we're on track for 1.7 and 2 mil. And of course, I have other people that work with.
Congratulations.
Thank you, brother. Of course, I have other people that help me, but top to bottom, this website is basically my own. When it comes to Google Ads, when it comes to email marketing, any digital marketing, even ordering, inventory, customer service, top to bottom. So I think for this particular segment, it's really important to start slow, because that's what I did. Yeah, we attained that much revenue, but I could tell you right now on Google Ads, it's literally 5 products that get the most, conversion value and return on ad spend. So you don't need a lot. I think it's really important, if you're in-house or you're a business owner, like we talked about last time, focus on your top packages, your top sellers, build really, really slowly, add on a little bit here and there. You're going to see these insights, and it's going to come to you, almost naturally, where you're going to see a crazy metric and you're like, why is the budget here this? Let's increase it. Or you'll see a crazy metric and be like, why is this still a keyword? Let's take it out. So you'll start to see those little things, and it'll be easier to see those little things if you start slow. Start with just a couple products, start with just a couple search ads, shopping ads manually, and don't overload yourself with data, because it's not going to do what you think it's going to do. Start slow. That's what I could say. Any thoughts on the e-commerce or the in-house business owner side, Ryan?
It's hard for me to really talk about it to a degree because I've never really been that side of things. I've never really worked for a company who have a product or they have a service, right, to a degree. I mean, I've kind of worked for a company that did a lot of like teaching and I guess like training and things like that for people. But they never really, and this is probably going back years when it was like I was thinking, yeah, maybe we should look at running like Google Ads and where you pay for people to click. And they were like, well, no, we don't want to like charge, we don't want to spend money or something when we can get the traffic for free, I think was the
Yeah.
yeah. And then when I was working there, that's when the other agency came to pitch to them. And then that's when I kind of jumped ship and started working agency side, but the rest is history, so to speak. So it's difficult for me to really say because you have like active, ongoing experience from that side of it. Whereas for me, I used to have agency experience, but now I'm very much freelance, and I just kind of do this for myself. But I think the beauty for me is that being agency side, having all these different clients and different businesses and different industries with different budgets and locations, it's just helped me with that knowledge to be able to kind of take that away and do it for myself, And I think, yeah, it's I can only really speak on what I know. And at the moment, that's kind of what I do, which is freelancing. And, I love doing it. So, yeah, but I think you hit a lot of points on the head, and you kind of got it across really well. So yeah.
Well, how about this? Since you don't have much
Are we gonna role
experience.
play now?
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
A little bit.
How about this? If you don't have any experience, in-house business owner, and I don't have much in agency, we could go back and forth. Just one thing. I just, like I can ask you a question about, what was your most hated experience in agency?
Heated or hated?
Hated.
Hated. How
Yeah.
do you mean? Like one thing I really detested, like I didn't like?
Yeah, yeah. Especially like, with Google Ads. Like what was one thing like working agency side because you have that experience that you did not like, when it comes to like managing Google Ads on the agency side.
Oh, do I really have to answer that?
Well, you can
There's a
go ahead.
there's a lot of things really that
Yeah.
I did not agree with. And again, I don't really want to bash agencies. I don't really want to like speak bad about anybody. I'd rather just focus on, what I do. And it's a very political answer, right?
I know, I love it.
But
You're ready to be president of the US.
well,
US of A.
exactly, right? If an Austrian can be the commissioner of California, whatever, I'm sure I can be the prime minister, the president of the
Yeah.
US. But anyway, I would say that I didn't agree with, just to give you some source. I mean, I didn't really agree with, I guess the big thing, I didn't agree with contracts, because I
Mm.
would see so many clients get signed up and they would be on 6 month, 12 month, and I even saw a 24-month contract laid out in front of a client to sign, meaning that they would stick with that agency for 2 years.
Wow.
And they couldn't get out of it. It was, tight. It was really tightly shut. And, if 2 months, 3 months and they're into it and they don't like, who their account manager is, or they don't like the results, then there's nothing they can do. They can take them to court, of course, and go down that route. But ultimately, it's difficult. So that's just something that I always left a bad taste in my mouth. 6 month, 12-month, 24-month contracts, and it's just difficult for the client to get out. So I always said when I work for myself, I'm not going to have any contracts, and I don't. Maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot. I don't really know. But for me, I just like to do a 30-day rolling thing. So I just say to clients, look, if you're not happy with the service, just let me know a month in advance. We can shake hands and walk away, and most people adhere to that. I would say that there's more of an adherence to that than there would be actually signing on the dotted line. I think because it's a gentleman's agreement, it's a gentleman's handshake. You're giving your word that, look, this is how it is. I don't need a contract. I don't need you to sign the contract for me. I don't need you to stay with me for 12 months. Let me do the work. And if you think it's valuable, if you see a good return, then, both parties are happy, right? What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah. I think, anyone, even if you work at an agency or you don't work at an agency or you have experience in agency or you don't, I think we can all agree that something like a 2-year contract is ridiculous, straight up, and that's why me and Ryan both, not just Ryan, but me also. I have no contract. If you want to work with us, it's going to be on a month to month basis. And we do this, maybe like you said, we are maybe leaving some money on the table there, but for us, it's not all about the money. We want to create business relationships and professional relationships because we want to help people and we want to see a Google Ads campaign that has one conversion skyrocket to 5, 10. For us, that's exciting to see return on ad spend increase, and go up high, and conversion value and all these things. And this is what we do. This is what we do, and this is, in my opinion, our calling. And we're not here to nickel and dime people or to say, hey, pay up. This is the XYZ, the contract here, this and that. It's really, if you want to work with us and we see a good fit, we want to work with you. So I think to kind of like top it off also, it doesn't matter if you're agency or e-commerce or, maybe you own your own business. if you can figure out Google Ads for yourself, we really, really encourage you guys to, parlay the experience that you have into something else independently. It'll not only create, value for what you're doing at the agency, or maybe, you're not allowed to do that, but that's neither here or there. I'm just saying, parlay what you learned with Google Ads and, create more value for someone else, and trust you'll be able to use those things that you learn in a different niche or industry or website and be able to apply that in what you're currently working on. Right, Ryan?
Yeah, I think you make a lot of sense. I don't think anyone really sort of like got anywhere in life playing it safe. Sometimes you have to kind of take risks to get where you want. And, I don't want to go too much into that in this episode, of course, but, I think Gene's exactly right. Parlay your experience and, you know, just build it up and put yourself out there, put yourself in uncomfortable positions when it comes to Google Ads, because then it's more like bows to your, what am I saying? Bows to your string, right? But or bow to the arrow. I always forget. I'm sure it's one of those. You know what? Okay, it's just me then. But basically, yeah, build that knowledge base, build that foundation of knowledge, so that when you encounter another issue again, you're not surprised. You can handle the situation, you can take care of it, and you can, optimize and move forward from it. So use the experience, gain that knowledge, and then whether you want to take a risk and, try and make it happen for yourself, or if you just want to kind of climb that ladder through the agency or in-house or whatever it might be, do that. But just before we close out then, Gene, I wanted to kind of ask you the same question you asked me, which was, one thing from in-house that you don't like. Is there anything that you can think of off the top of your head?
Yeah, for sure. There's multiple, but I mean, it's although it is long term, for me in-house, I'm tied to the numbers. I'm tied, on a profit and loss statement where, okay, Gene, why did you spend this much and then the revenue was this much? So everything that I do is tied to that particular number, and it becomes an obsession. Becomes an obsession of not only Google Ads, of course, mainly Google Ads, because that's for this particular thing. It's the only thing that's the only pay-per-click other than Bing that's really spending a lot in budget. But it becomes an obsession, and you're like every day, like, am I going to hit that percentage that we agreed on in the beginning of the year so I could get XYZ compensation at the end of the year? So to any of my in-house Google Ads PPC managers out there, take it from me. Be obsessed, but don't let it, run amok through anything else, like in your life personally, because it can easily, especially if you have everything on your phone, make sure that there's still that separation. I guess is kind of what I could say.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to close out? Should we close this episode off?
Yeah, we can definitely close this out. This was our first episode for this first series. Which Google Ads campaign should I run? And we already answered everything. It depends, but we give more perspective, especially in this episode. Google Ads for agency versus business owner and in-house. If you do like our show, we post every Monday, 12 a.m. Mountain Time, on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and also on YouTube. And you can find Ryan at
ryanfentonppc.co.uk. And I always say like x.com, Twitter, right? But I'm on it now and then. So Ryan Fenton PPC on x.com or Twitter. What are people say? Are people saying Twitter or are they saying X?
I still call it Twitter. That's for sure.
I call it Twitter, right? So it's like when Facebook was saying we're Meta now. It's like, well, it's not really, you can't have a brand that big and then do a change, I don't think.
Yeah.
But anyway, where can people find you?
GeneVillanos.com, Gene Villanos on LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. And you could also find us at the PPC Cave at TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn now. And yeah, if you have any questions, email us at theppccave@gmail.com, and also engage with us. Let's see some comments out there. Let's see some likes. Share our show. We do this for free just because we really want to provide our experience, and we also learn from this ourselves. We've mentioned that a lot of times. But yeah, until the next episode, then.